Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallim ala Rasul al-Kareem. We're on chapter 30 now, mashallah. So chapter 30, very interesting question. There's a lot of talk about why you call yourselves, or why we call ourselves ahle sunnah wal jama'ah. It's again one of those areas where people think it's just been made up in India or Pakistan or somewhere like that, and you can't find it in the Middle East, therefore it can't exist. You know, it just shows a lack of knowledge of the sunnah. So let's have a look in the Holy Qur'an and see where these words have come from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Allah says, hold firmly to the rope which Allah extends to you, together, jama'ah, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and don't be divided. And the verse continues. We don't need to worry too much about the remainder of the verse, but the word jami'an, together, Allah is clearly saying you should be one group. You should be attached to one group, to the Holy Qur'an and to the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's a translation of jama'ah. So jami'an, jama'ah, it's actually a Quranic term, and it refers to unity, and it refers to those people, that group, which is firmly on the right path. And if we look at also in the Holy Qur'an, there's a particular verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about certain people on the Day of Judgment. They will be shining, and other people's faces won't be shining, will be dark. So some faces will be shining and some will be dark. And the people who will be dark, Allah is asking them that even though you said you believed, you disbelieved. You had iman, or you claimed you had iman, but you actually disbelieved and you actually rejected. So the tafsir of this, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas, he mentions the tafsir of this, and in his tafsir he says these people whose faces will be bright, he says this is Yawm al-Qiyamah, he says حين تبيض وجوه أهل السنة والجماعة. The people whose faces will be bright, these are the faces of wujuh ahle sunnah wal jama'ah, the people of the face of the group of sunnah and jama'ah. They're following the sunnah and they are in the right group. وَتَسْوَدُّ وُجُوهُ, and the people whose faces will be black, أَهْلِ الْبِدْعَةِ وَالْفُرْقَةِ. These are the people who will have who have innovations, and they'll be in little groups or groups. So Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala, he coined this phrase. Alright? So if he coined this phrase, and he's known as a master of tafsir, it means it was used by the companions radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. It was understood, and of course the Prophet ﷺ understood. So if it was his vocabulary, then it was a vocabulary of the Sahaba Ikram. And obviously Quran mentions jama'ah, and the Prophet's following is the sunnah, so he coined the phrase ahle sunnah wal jama'ah. So it's not something that's been made up except by Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas. So it's his sunnah and the sunnah of the companions.
Is this during the lifetime of the Prophet?
I believe it is. I believe, but even if it wasn't, the fact that he said it's enough. He was an authority on tafsir, and he's giving tafsir on this, and his tafsir is the people whose faces are bright is ahle sunnah wal jama'ah. For him, it's not a name of a group, it's a name of the rightly guided people who follow the sunnah in the group, the group that is following the sunnah. That's all it means. So everybody claims they're Sunnis and everybody claims they're in the ahle sunnah wal jama'ah. But the fact is, we should be ahle sunnah wal jama'ah, not be ahlul bid'ah wal furqa, the people of bid'ah and furqa. And the khariji ideology which has crept in to make, for example, wasila shirk, that is the bid'ah that he's talking about. That's the bid'ah that's creeping in. To make verses that are applied to mushriks, to apply them to Muslims. That's the bid'ah.
But the people that are propagating that, they also call themselves bid'ah.
Yeah, exactly. Of course they will. And they will call us ahle bid'ah. But in fact, we have shown and proven from Qur'an and sunnah and everything that they are actually ahlul bid'ah. Of course it's going to be a name calling game, isn't it? It's like atheists and you know, believers. But this is a cancer in the ummah. That's why the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-khawarij kilabun nar, the dogs of the fire, because they're going to try and change the religion.
Can we go as far as saying those people are outside of all Islam?
It depends on individual comments they make.
Well, I reject things like the sea lands, they'll take you outside.
It depends exactly when you ask them to define what they're saying.
Right.
You can't just take a general comment. Some wasila is shirk, wasila for idols,
Yeah.
and that's essentially what they're trying to accuse Muslims of. But yeah, those who reject or reject certain verses of Qur'an or misinterpret them, you can argue they go outside the folds of Islam. Yeah, you can argue that, but we rather not get into that debate. It's a very dangerous debate. You get into very deep technicalities as well. I think better to say misguided. So what about the ahadith? In Tirmidhi Sharif, the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Yadullahi ma'al jama'ah, the hand of Allah is with the jama'ah. So again, you find jama'ah is mentioned in Qur'an and is mentioned in Hadith. In Ibn Majah, the Prophet explained, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the different sects. A very famous hadith, it's quoted a lot. Jews divided into 71 sects. One is in Jannah and 70 are in hellfire. The Christians divided into 72 sects. One is in Jannah, 71 in Jahannam. And he said, by the one whose hand my soul is in, my ummah will be divided into 73 sects. وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم بِيَدِهِ لَتَقْتَرِقَنَّ أُمَّتِي على 73 فرقة. So 73 sects. And فواحدة في الجنة, just one will be in Jannah. وثنتان وسبعون في النار, and the 72 will be in Jahannam. And the Sahaba Ikram asked, who are these who will be in Jannah? He says, al-jama'ah, the group, the right group. So ahle sunnah wal jama'ah, the right group.
Jama'ah, is that referring to the majority? What I'm trying to say is in numbers, if you were to numerically look at the numbers of people in that.
It does refer to it via another hadith, where the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la tajtami ummati ala dalala, my ummah will not agree on misguidance, therefore the majority belief is correct. So you can link the two. And also you find in Nisa'i, the Prophet was addressing the people on the mimbar, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was mentioning that there will be many difficulties and evil that will come into the ummah. And he actually said that there will be people trying to create division. And he actually said, if you see such people trying to create division, then the penalty for that is death. Kill him. Because the hand of Allah is with the jama'ah. فَإِنَّ يَدَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْجَمَاعَةِ. The hand of Allah is with the jama'ah. And those who remove themselves from the jama'ah, they basically run. And he also said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is the hadith I mentioned actually, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَجْمَعُ أُمَّتِي. My ummah will not be gathered on misguidance, ala dalala. My ummah will not be gathered on misguidance. And that's in Tirmidhi Sharif. So follow the majority. You must follow my sunnah. فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي وَسُنَّةِ الْخُلَفَاءِ الْمُهْدِيِّينَ الرَّاشِدِينَ. And the sunnah of the rightly guided khulafa. So when we talk about ahle sunnah wal jama'ah, it's not a new phrase. Jama'ah is everywhere in the Qur'an and Hadith, and sunnah by its nature is part of following the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Division was prophesied, and also it's inevitable. It happened in the Jews, happened in the Christians, and it's going to happen in the Muslims. So we have to be sure we are rightly guided. And the way to do that is, as Allah says, وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ. Find a wasila and find someone to guide, to keep us guided, because we will struggle otherwise to find what is right and what is wrong. We will hear so many different arguments that we can easily become confused, and that is what's happening in society now. They're becoming confused as to what's right and wrong, even to the extent if a child says, I want to do this, the teacher says, oh, you must listen to the child. The child says, I want to be a tree, quickly get some foliage and give him and live out in the garden for a few days. It's just becoming nonsense, and Facebook has now 71 genders. So how much more confused do you want the people to become? If you're going to not teach haqq, you will end up teaching confusion. Okay? And this is the same is true for deen. People are there now trying to change, and they've always tried to do this, change the religion of Islam, and it's become very technical with these discussions and arguments about, for example, wasila, okay, for example about bid'ah, for example about position of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're arguing to try and confuse and undermine the true teachings of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's nothing new. Like the Qadianis, for example, they've tried to create a new prophet, and they've tried to technically prove from Qur'an that Muhammad sallallahu is not the last prophet, and they've tried to prove technically from Hadith he's not the last prophet, and they tried to prove from Qur'an Isa alayhi salam has died. That's the verses they quote. And because Muslims aren't that well educated in all of these areas, some Muslims become confused. Okay, so it's nothing new, and we have to be careful of these very dangerous technical arguments. Okay, any questions on this?
So, what about 76, 71, whatever?
Yeah.
First time I've seen where it talks about one group. So obviously, if you let's take the Jews as an example. If there's 70 of us, ones in general.
Yeah, we don't know if that one in general is alive at the moment.
Yeah,
we don't know. But Musa alayhi salam, he had true followers.
But if they were true, would they not have adopted Islam eventually.
Yeah, but not in the time of Musa alayhi salam. Many Jews did adopt Islam. Many Jews didn't.
But what I'm trying to get at is there a group of Jews today who are destined for them?
I can't answer that. All right, I can't answer that. I'm sure there are. I can't point them out to you because I don't know. I'm. Who are we to judge anybody?
No. But is this referring to the Jews of old, or is this
It's a general statement. It's not time specific. Like there are Christians nowadays that believe in one God. They don't accept the Trinity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even now, we don't know their piety. We can't judge them. But the Prophet ﷺ is saying, and this answers the age-old question: will Christians go to Jannah? I mean, the Prophet has answered it. ﷺ.
In terms of the ahle sunnah wal jama'ah, obviously all the other groups, they all claim the same to be the same.
Yeah.
Is there any reference to as to what the hallmark is?
Well, they don't all claim to be the same. For example, Shias don't say, Qadianis don't. The Salafis, some of them do, but when you question them, they okay, we're Salafis or we're ahle hadith. They'll end up saying that. So they don't all claim, but the Ahl Sunnah, the true followers of Ahl Sunnah, is very simple. If you want to know which group is correct, which group is truly Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, my definition is the ones who have love for the Prophet ﷺ and they show love for the Prophet ﷺ. It's not just saying, I have love, but I'm not going to Milad. Right, that shows you've got issues and you've got confusion. Even if you don't accept Milad Sharif, fine. You shouldn't. Why are you speaking against it? Why are you speaking against someone you should have lots of love for? You see, so that's my definition, because the whole philosophy of Khawarij, it has two angles. One is to create division and make Muslims fight Muslims, call each other kafirs. The other is to belittle the position of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you attack that side and say, well, let's see who actually loves him and who actually shows love for him, then you find the true people. And you can see on people's faces, to be honest. You don't even have to meet any. You can go to a mosque and you can tell what group this mosque belongs to. Alright? You don't even have to look around too much. Or you meet somebody and you can tell who's a true one who truly loves the Prophet ﷺ, because that person will always have a smile and be happy and be at peace and be content, and everybody else will be suspicious and upset and looks like they've just seen Jahannam.
I did ask that question the first time. I said the same thing. The easiest thing for an average lay person like me is to ask whether they celebrate Milad. That's the easiest way, and then you know that if a group doesn't celebrate it, they've got issues.
Yeah, they've got issues. They have got issues. Yeah. So which group is correct? What's Ahl Sunnah mean? The people of Sunnah. You have got to love the Sunnah. You've got to love the person. Right? And the Jama'ah is the correct group. And Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas said, radiyallahu ta'ala an, he said, the people whose faces will be shining, Hina tabyaddu wujuh ahli sunnah wal jama'ah. These are the people. And the people whose face will be dark, ahli al-bid'ah wal furqa, people of bid'ah and furqa groups. Right? Although you have little groups in Sunnis, alright, you have bigger divisions in other groups. Shias, you have huge divisions in Shiaism. You have huge divisions in Salafis. You have huge divisions in Qadianis. Whatever they show you, it's not the case. They've got massive arguments, internal disagreements and stuff.
So when we say sect, obviously with Qadianis, are they a sect within Islam? Or
no, they're a sect, but they call themselves Muslims, but they're outside Islam.
So they wouldn't count as these?
No, they count as one. Yeah, they count one of the sects because they claim they're Muslims. Like the Khawarij claim they're Muslims. So these are the sects the Prophet is talking about. Everyone will claim I'm Jewish, but Allah says no. 70 of you aren't. Yeah. So these are people who claim they're Muslims. Now we've got a new group, liberal Muslims. Everything's permissible. Yeah. Where'd that come from? As soon as you reject a verse from Qur'an, or you happily speak against it, you're outside Islam. If Allah says about people of Lut, قَوْمِ لُوتُ بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ, you are people who are sinful and have transgressed. That's it, you're sinful. You can't start promoting the actions of قَوْمِ Lut. As soon as you start promoting it, you're outside Islam. And that's what people are trying to do now with Islam. With women imams, okay, and promoting what Islam has declared as haram, promoting that to be right, and disregarding certain Quranic verses, saying, sorry, this is out of date, we can't accept this. Just because you don't understand it, that's not my problem. Right? So, because they want to change morality to not what God has said, but what we want to do. That's the same when the prophets fought with their people. Nothing's changed. The Bani Israel said, we don't want to adopt these commandments. What's changed? Nothing's changed. We're going to have this all the time, isn't it? Every generation going to have this. And what people don't realise, if you go against the laws of God, if you try and follow your own morality, whatever arguments you use and reasons you use, everyone's going to suffer. Okay? I mean, for example, a very irresponsible comment people are making, and they've been making for a long time, what I do in the privacy of my own home doesn't hurt anybody, what's your problem? Alright? You've heard that? Yeah? It doesn't matter. And that's the argument people are using for immorality. Alright, fine. That's extremely irresponsible. 99% of the murders or knife crimes in London are drug related. And people are taking drugs in the privacy of their own home. 600 kids have been murdered in London. 600 children. So everyone is taking drugs now in the privacy of their own home, has a hand in this. Because it's a drug war going on the street. And those who claim, all these haram relationships have become halal, well, I think the 39 million people who have died of AIDS won't agree with you. It's more than the Second World War. And the 35 million people with AIDS, I don't think they'll agree with you either. And the 2 million children with AIDS, I don't think they'll agree with you either. What you've done in the privacy of your own home, thank you, is having effect all around the world. Thank you very much. And where does it end? Look at paedophilia, necrophilia. I don't want to even translate these. Bestiality, I don't even translate these. Where does it end? So you go down that path, wasa'a sabila, it's a path leading to evil, and there's no limit. So that's what happens when you impose your own morality and leave God out of your life. Everyone suffers. Okay, and ultimately we will all suffer ultimately. Okay, so ahle sunnah wal jama'ah. Someone said, I've heard all the arguments, I still don't know which one to believe. When you're in that position, it's very simple. You ask your heart, what does my heart say? If you're really, really stuck, all you do is istikhara, and you ask Allah directly. So there's a few avenues you've got. Okay? Or you do what I did, find a great teacher who is speaking the truth, and he's got an answer for every question from the Qur'an and Hadith. So it's like Allah speaking to you directly, your Prophet speaking directly, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we try to do in this book, everything's answered from the Prophet, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't argue with it. Right? It's verse after verse after verse. Okay? Just to promote clarity where people are trying to make confusion.